Hello and welcome, everybody out there in Union Arena Land. We have a special video coming at you today. We are joined by TioGDX. Say hi, Tio.
Hey, yo.
All right. And we are going over the Multicolor Melee format. This is a homebrew format that's based off of, Conqueror, if you're familiar with Hearthstone, or if you ever played Runeterra, they had a competitive mode as well that happened mainly on the weekends, where you choose three different decks that had restrictions on what types of decks you can pick, and you had to go through a banning process with your opponent and play a best of three bout. So fundamentally, we have to pick three different decks that are each a different color. They can be shared IP, they can be different IPs. Both of us has chosen completely different IPs for all three of ours. Love that. And after we pick these three, we have to display the SRs in the deck. Now, the key to that is you have to display all of the SRs that you have. So one copy of each of them. They don't need to know the numbers, they just need to know the SRs that exist. That gives your opponent limited information as to what you are doing and playing against them with. So, for instance, my decks each only have one SR. So he doesn't get any more information from my deck building outside of that. For you, what are the, or here, let me go over. I have AO Toto, which many people should be familiar with that deck at this point. Gun Through, which I know you're familiar with at this point,
Yes,
and
sir.
Old Faithful Metal Bat, my best deck that I own. Highly competitive tier 0. Now, what SRs are you displaying?
We're showing off a fancy new Historia SR.
Nice. Nice.
We're
She's scary.
enhancing an Ichigo SR
Ooh,
in every
nice.
purple bleach deck. And then this time you get two. You get
Oh.
both sisters.
Okay, so now I know you're playing both sisters. Okay. Yeah, it would have been a question mark if you only show the other sister. I'd have to go, oh, damn, Saitama? Um,
Yes.
so now that we both know what each other are playing inside of this, we are going to have to roll dice, and whoever wins the roll off decides which person gets to ban a deck first and which person gets to choose play first or draw first when we actually get to our matches. So, just so you know the structure of how the matches are going to go, game one, you can choose either of your two decks that are unbanned. You choose
Okay.
them silently, however you want to. You don't need to let me know. Of course, if they're in different sleeves, I'll probably figure it out. Mine are always in different sleeves, so you'll figure it out. Whoever wins that first match has to move on to their other of those two decks. The person who lost can choose to stay on the deck that they just played or swap to their other deck as well. After round two, if both players have one win, one loss, the ban deck is still out of the running, but you can choose either of your other two decks. So, knowing what you ban from your opponent really puts a limit on what they can do against you inside of this bout. So,
Oh,
yeah, let's do our roll off.
okay. Sounds good.
I rolled a 9.
Four.
Okay, so I get to choose. Do I want to be the person who dictates game one going first or second? Or do I want to be the person who dictates who bans the decks first? I personally think that with my matchup against the decks that you have on display, that I would rather you set the tempo of the matches by you banning first, and then I'll be able to get game one advantage on playing first or playing second. So
Okay.
you get to choose which of these three decks would you like to ban?
I'll hit you with the heck no Toto.
Heck no Toto. Okay. I see you decided you don't want to deal with that bullshit. Very fair. And I will respond with the same energy. Fuck no purple. Ban that one
Under
from you.
understandable.
Yes, yes. So we have both decided that we're going to be playing combo esque and aggro esque decks against one another. Since I am the person who gave you the choice, I get to choose if I want to go first or go second. I'm actually going to go first in our matches, and you privately choose whichever deck you want to choose. I moved mine off screen, but you can tell because of sleeves what I'm going to be playing.
Okay. So I'm going second
Yes, you are.
this game.
Yes, you are.
All right. I'm going second.
And then it's loser chooses for game two
Okay.
and game three.
Imagine you can't
222.
see. Ooh.
Oh, you don't know what I'm doing.
You know what's going on over here.
Yeah. So yes, what are your initial thoughts on this? Because this is the first time you're doing Multicolor Melee. I've done a handful of games with it so far. What are your initial thoughts with these rule sets and requirements?
Funny enough, not too dissimilar from a tournament that I was in about 4 or 5 months ago. That
Really?
tournament you had to pick two decks. You didn't pick three, so you
Okay.
picked two. There are no bans,
Mm,
but same thing. So they cannot be the same IP, same color. They couldn't share that.
yeah.
But essentially, you had play a best of three set. Both play your decks, and then if you win, you change. If you lose, you can choose which one to do.
But you
So
got to
I put
play all three.
no, there are only two decks, so there's no three with a ban. There are just two decks. So instead of you picking
Oh,
three and banning one, there are just two from the get
okay,
go.
okay. I got you now.
So it was a fun tournament though. I've only done that tournament once. It was a long one considering that rounds were an hour long and 10 minutes
Mm.
overtime, I believe. So it was a long day, but it was fun. So I do enjoy the format every now and then.
Yeah, yeah. It's definitely not something you would want to do for like. Well, I mean, perhaps some people would like to do it for their locals, because each of these bouts should take just under an hour, depending on the tempo of the players, right?
Right.
Both you and I are very experienced, and through explaining on this, I highly doubt the 3 rounds would take longer than 40 minutes for the two of us, which is longer
Yeah.
than UA rounds typically, but like compared to other TCGs, that's not long at all. That's
Yeah. Exactly. That's just one piece with extra time and
yeah.
5 more minutes.
So my intentions with this is to allow more skill expression outside of just piloting one's deck to come into play. Knowing matchup percentages and knowing ability to play against other diverse decks in the meta is more rewarding. So it seems more player expressive than deck expressive. Do you think that this is going to capture that energy at all?
It does. 'Cause you leave it up to them to pick three decks. So like you
Mm-hmm.
see what kind of player they are. So if you're gonna pick three decks to go with, knowing one will be banned, you're gonna pick you're comfortable with all of them. So you get to see
Right.
essentially what kind of player you're dealing with. Like for example, I picked Squad Zero and I picked two event decks. So you can
Mm-hmm.
pretty much just gather that I like doing a lot of stuff.
You like
So
draw card.
yeah. And then you picked Toto, you picked Bomber and Metal Bat. So you like 4Ks and messing with people. So
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah, yeah.
you know, you get a good reading
Hmm.
on them early on. So it's nice.
Yeah, yeah. I also like the fact that knowing that there is going to be a deck banned, if there is a moment in time in your format where there is a tier 0 deck, you can always just lock that deck in and never even practice playing it and just practice your other two. And 99% of the time, people are going to be like, fuck that deck. No, we're not
Yeah,
dealing with
that's not
that.
happening.
Yeah. I can't possibly win unless I hit a final here. So, special. All right, GG's.
Good stuff. What I have left? Astoria.
Oh, there's
I
the
just pulled Astoria right afterwards. Yeah.
Alrighty, so that was not a great matchup for me. The color trigger is something that is noteworthy against these smaller decks as being very oppressive. So, all in all,
That's crazy.
yeah, I mean, it's something that happens, you know. If those were specials out of life, I'd be just as, well, kind of in the same situation. So, it is what it is. Just now you have
not used
8
to it.
cards that go, fuck you.
I'm not used to those being so useful. That's all.
So now, at this point, we get to have game 2, where me, as the loser, gets to choose who goes first and who goes second. And I can swap decks if I want to. You are forced to play your other deck,
I sure am.
which means I'm going to stick to Bomber. And this is the stratagem of starting with Bomber. You made the right choice by not putting Sisters into this. I think you realize that a 3K card on my turn is kind of very good for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But now the fun comes in where if I can manage to win this game, I'd be able to 50-50 our next matchup, where you have to think, am I going to be playing Metal Bat, or am I going to be just 3 spamming Bomber? Actually, no, if I win this one, I have to switch to Metal Bat. So my last game will be with my most consistent deck. But you'll have the privilege and advantage to decide which deck you want to play.
Right.
All right.
Honestly,
How's it good?
it comes to that? I have no idea.
4K.
Yeah, you got it.
Okay. GG's.
Yeah, I ran 3 finals, and 2 are in here. I'm pretty sure I saw the other one in my deck, so I was like, yeah.
Okay, yeah. I wasn't sure if you used 1 or 4.
Considering how many
All
times I use it, understandable.
right. All right, so now we are entering into game number 3, where I am forced to finally switch off of Bomber, and finally get to play for my AP. As the loser of last round, you get to choose if you want to go first or second, and you get to choose if you want to play one of your 2 decks.
I'll get it first, second. Ooh, yeah, I will definitely go second, but not.
You're second? All right, I'm first then. Okay, Impact. Got another one for me?
Nah, I don't.
GG's, man. Despite all the color triggers and holy cow. Okay. Yeah, I'm happy I killed your Raid Historia, huh?
one more turn.
Yeah, no. Yeah, my special says no.
I should have lived one more turn. And my next card was that. You're super quick.
I was dead. Yeah. I needed a yeah, I only had one more life, so I couldn't even get the active. The active plus Genos is honestly like such an insane thing for this deck.
That's pretty sick.
All right, so that was the 3 matches. I ended up victorious. Yay! Metal Bat still best deck in format, or at least removal is still best deck in format. So, Tio, tell me, what are your thoughts on this format, the multicolored melee?
It's pretty cool. Again, I've played stuff similar to it before and always enjoyed it. Just having 3 decks ready. You gotta be ready to play whatever. I mean, you have a good idea of what they're gonna ban, but at the same time, you have to be confident enough in all 3 decks to even enter such a thing. So I always find them enjoyable.
All right. Was there any portions of like my specific rules that you thought were a little weird, wonky, or that you would have tweaked in any way?
Nope. They're all pretty straightforward. it followed standard. I'm from the FGC, so it follows
Mm,
standard FGC stuff of winner stays, loser can pick. So I'm
yeah.
perfectly fine with that.
I'm always a big fan
So
of that
no,
mechanic in my games. Just loser has some advantage, right?
yeah. So no, rules seem pretty solid. Didn't really have any adjustments on my end to make to them. So.
All right. Now, do you think that this would make like a good large scale event? Like say this is a rare battle type of event where instead of saying you can only play the one IP, it's you have to play three different decks just like this. Or like a different type of event instead.
I don't know how large this event could be. I don't know how large scale it would be for people to have 3 decks they want to enter with. But
Mm.
this could definitely be like a local, no problem, or even
All
like a
right.
once a month thing in your area. To have like
Yeah.
everybody, all right, everybody, end of the month, we're gonna have a special tournament. Bring your 3 decks, and we're all gonna do this format kind of thing. But large scale, I'm not quite sure how that would go, considering the round length, which
Mm.
is still a lot for a Bandai game because we're used to our half hour and then 5 minutes overtime.
Yeah, true.
Um, but for like locals, like once a month, it sounds like a really dope idea. Everybody can do.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining me. I mean, I think this bout was so much different than the other matchups that I've had to play doing multicolor melee. Having to deal with two event decks was honestly very difficult for me to balance my specific picks around. I absolutely made the right call in what I banned, right? Both of my decks are fine into Squad Zero, but neither of them are favored into that matchup. So, like,
Right.
obviously, that needs to go. And the fact that you said no to Mechamaru first, that would have been my only deck that I am confident has a large advantage against Squad Zero. So I don't know. I think the diversity of decks is what like makes me want to keep doing more of this, you know? Like just getting to play weird matchups cuz I've never played Historia against Metal Bat and I've also never played Esper Sisters against Bomber. it's it
Right.
is
Yeah.
those are fun matches, you know? Polarizing for one of them, let's be honest. If I hit Gen throughs, just unfortunately I can kill a 3K, right? like that's
Yeah.
uh,
Tragic. Yep.
yeah. Uh, but yeah, so I think that was a lot of fun. Well, thank you for joining me, Tio. And I can
Thanks for
be
having me.
sure. Oh yeah, of course. I'll be sure to hit you up again in the future to record more of these, and then you can brew and try to net deck against me if you want. Yeah.
I'm gonna get your ass. I'm coming.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah. All right. We'll see you all in the next one. Goodbye.